Hello and welcome back to another Forgotten tutorial. This one is about the spawn classes, and today I am starting with the scout. So if you spawn, there are several kits that you can choose from, and they have an icon here on the left which signifies their function. And as you can see, the scout here has the binoculars, and that's because the scout has a very important task, and that is spotting enemies. Not only spotting enemies for all his teammates, so they know where, for example, an enemy tank is, but also spotting for artillery. Okay, let's go over to the kit. What is in the Scout's spawn kit? Okay, we start with weapon slot number 1. It has a bayonet, and it's the melee weapon for the Scout, and you can stab people with it. And this is left mouse button, and this is right mouse button. Search for the differences. And it's a melee weapon which disables the main rifle. That is a limitation of Refractor 2, the engine on which Battlefield 2 was made, and therefore also the engine on which Forgotten 2 was made. So you can't shoot and stab in the same attack. You'll have to switch weapons. Okay, in weapon slot 2 there's nothing for the scout, and in weapon slot 3 there's the rifle. I am at the moment on Zelo Heights, and this means that I'm a Soviet scout, and they have the Mojin Nagant, and depending on which nation you're playing, you'll get a different rifle, like the number 4, or the M1 Garand, or the Springfield, or the K98, or the Gewehr 33, or the SMLE, and I think that's about it. Um, and if I forgot one, well, then that's too bad, because that's not what the video is about. Shooting a rifle, I'm going to go over that in the rifleman video, so let's move on to the next item, which is a mine, an anti-personnel mine, an AP mine. Most FA2 players refer to these as the S mine, but that's the German name for the AP mine. AP, anti-personnel, is the general name. Of course, the Americans also named it like that, but they had to put M1 in front of it. And, well, most nations have these. Just go prone, deploy. It will be armed, well, not immediately, but close to immediately. If you deploy this, then don't stand up straight away, because then this happens. And you don't want that. Okay? So you can't deploy this while standing. I'm clicking left mouse button right now, but nothing is happening because I'm not prone. You have to be prone to deploy the AP mine. And the character was stroking a bit like it was a pet or something. But okay, so if you want to deploy the AP mine, you can just go prone and deploy it. You can't deploy it while moving, and that's just to not make these things too overpowered. Good places to place an AP mine are in corridors where you expect enemies to go through. Like for example in this first phase where you have to capture the manor as the Soviets, the Germans spawn over there in that house. So a good place to put an AP mine would be here. As you can see, I put it on a sloped surface right now, which makes it possible for a German to walk over it without triggering it, because the trigger is vertical, so it goes vertically up straight from the mine. You can also, if you notice the mine, you can prone over it like this. This wasn't possible before, but it was changed in the mod. You can now crawl over it. And not die. So if you deploy a mine, let's do that over here, then you lost your AP mine, and you might want to place more than one. Then just go to an ammo crate, like this one. Wait a little bit. If you select the weapon continuously, you can see it the moment it gets reloaded, which is now. I'll just deploy another one over here. This is also a nice spot for an AP mine. Remember to carefully prone away from the mine in order to not trigger it yourself. And we go to deploy a third one, because there's a limited number of mines that you can deploy at the same time. The mines are linked to the kit, so if you die and you lose your kit, the mines will disappear after a while. Okay, I put down 3 now. And if you pick up somebody else's kit who has placed mines, then the kills will be yours if an enemy steps on them. But the engine is not so smart that they can they know that they are AP mine kills, so you'll have a generic "you killed this person" message. Okay, here's number 4. Let's see. Yep. And now you can see that number 1 disappeared. This mine is gone now. It's because you put the maximum number of AP mines out. And for those who think, yeah, well, that just disappeared and you were too slow, let's just put the new one immediately, and we will see that the one in front will disappear. Not the one at the wall, but the one in the gap. Look at it. And it's gone. So, a maximum of 3 AP mines per scout, because otherwise we get minefields that we don't want to deal with. Okay, next item, the smoke grenade. The smoke grenade is to block sight, of course. And if you want to block sight, you want to block the sight of the enemy, not of your own team. There are enough pictures on the internet which show how to block sight properly. But let me show you, if you want to block the sight of this machine gun over here, then you have to throw the nade right in front of it and not like here or something, because then there will be a huge plume of smoke. Your teammates will walk through it, and when they appear from the smoke, they will be extra visible instead of less visible, which was the intention of the smoke grenade in the first place. So let's try this. Okay. This is the Russian smoke grenade, which takes quite a while to deploy smoke. But as you can see, it fills up the area quite nicely, and the MG is not visible anymore. So now you can safely, well, sort of safely, run into the area, flank the machine gunner, and preferably stab him to death. Okay, machine gunner is dead now. Okay. So this is how the smoke grenade works. And this smoke grenade I deployed with the right mouse button. Doesn't do anything different in my opinion. I was checking that because explosive grenades do deploy differently when you activate them with the right mouse button, but we'll get to that when I will go over the rifleman kit. Okay, and now for the most important item in the scout kit. It's not the rifle, it's not the AP mine, contrary to some players' beliefs, but it's the binoculars. The binoculars are super powerful because you can spot everything with it. Let's take an example here. I want to spot the 88 gun, which is a threat to our tanks, so you would think that I would just aim at the 88 gun and then spot it. Well, that's a very good assumption because I just go press Q. Q opens this little menu and then you can see spot in the middle. And if I just click with the left mouse button, I will spot something, and you see a flashing question mark on the minimap in the top right corner. And this says, okay, team, I spotted something, I'm not sure what it is. If I right click, I'm holding Q all the time, by the way, because when I let it go, this happens. But if I'm holding Q, then and I right click on the word spot, this little thing appears. And now I can choose from several things. And yeah, this is not an airplane, armor, infantry, a ship, a submarine, or a scout. It's a gun. So I click unit. And now I get this interesting icon in the top left corner, right corner, sorry, which indicates that there's something there. Not the best example, I admit, but it's better. It works better with tanks. If you get the spot right, then you'll see the tank actually move around if it's moving on the map. And people can also see it move around when they open their big map like this. If the spot is missing the vehicle or the infantry, then the icon will just be a generic one like I have been showing right now, and it will be vertical. So tank's barrel will be upwards, and it will look like it's static and not moving at all. So beware, if you get a spot from an enemy vehicle, take note that if it looks like it's not moving, if it's facing upwards, then it might be a spot which just missed it, and then you might you might not be able to know in which direction the tank is facing, for example. If the spot is spot on, then the direction of the vehicle will be shown. It doesn't say anything about the direction of the turret of the tank. So if the driver decided to put his turret backwards and thus is looking in his rear direction, then you won't see that on the spot. It's not that elaborate. Okay. So that's spotting units. And now let's see what we can do with spotting for artillery. Spotting is actually just firing your weapon. The binoculars is a weapon. So if I am spotting this bunker here, and I put the vision slit of the machine gun in the middle of my crosshair, it's not really a crosshair, but you know what I mean, and I will left click, then I will fire an invisible projectile into that bunker, and it will probably hit the bunker. And if I do it like this, it will for sure hit the bunker. Statics do have a collision mesh like that, but vehicles and other moving stuff don't. So don't try to spot a moving target for artillery like this. You are better off by for example, if this was a tank, then don't spot it like this, because it will be it will be spotting the ground behind it. The projectile will go through the tank and instead spot like this, and then the RT gunner will see the tank actually, because you spotted the ground just below it. Now here's a little neat trick for all your spotting adventures. If you spot, the artillery gunner gets a view from above, so it's vertically downwards. And the lower to the ground you spot, the lower the spot will be to the ground, and therefore the gunner will see less of the surroundings. And that's a bad thing, because if he sees more, he can see enemies running into the spot area, or he can see friendlies running into the spotted area, which is very important for him to prevent team kills. Okay, so I've got a lot of favorite spotting places. I'll give away one for free over here. I think it's pretty well known, but if you don't know it, just well, you can make use of it from now on. Like I said before, this building is a spawning place for the Germans. So if you want the artillery to blast away at the Germans, then don't try to spot the wall or something, because it doesn't work. The projectile will be stuck on the wall, and the artillery gunner will see this area over here. This area, which is useless for our artillery spotting. Instead, try to spot the house itself. And if you spot it there, the artillery gunner will see part of the courtyard, but if you spot up top, like there, he will get a better view of it, and then he might be able to hit more targets. So, secret for free, this is a great artillery spot for the Russian guns on Zelo Heights. Of course, I'm not going to give away all best spotting locations, but now that you know the principle behind it, you can find them yourself, of course. Okay, so I can spot far away and close by, it doesn't really matter. There's no real bullet drop in the invisible projectile. One more thing to mention, there are two ways that you can spot. I'll show them both with a close by spot so we can see it on the minimap. There are two ways to spot. This one is the normal one. You can see now on the minimap there's an explosion icon appearing. Here, check this out. It's when you zoom in you can see where it landed, and it's sort of on the courtyard because you can see the grayish areas, they are the roofs of the buildings, and then it's right below it. But I can also spot for smoke, and if I want to spot for smoke, I have to switch, press Q, and select spot smoke, left click. You heard the little sound there. And now when I spot for smoke, you will see that a smoke sign is appearing. It's actually better visible if I'm not zoomed in. So now you actually communicate to the artillery gunner that you want smoke in the area there and not explosives. This is very useful on certain maps like Omaha Beach, where you have to storm the beach as an American without any regard to his life. And if you want to make it across safely, you better have that artillery blast smoke on the beach. Sometimes people are trying to spot for smoke and don't use the icon, and then you can't blame the artillery gunner for firing high explosive shells and team killing you, because well, yeah, you should have used this one. Yeah, one more thing about spotting. The spot will expire after a while. It's also It's tied to your life. And if you die, the spot will stay for a short while after your death. So you might be able to get assists for your spots in your new life, but you'll have to respot again in order to keep getting them. And this is when I mention target assists. When you spot for artillery and the artillery gunner gets kills, you get target assists, and they are a lot of points. So it's no exception to get the gold medal on a map like Zalo or Omaha or Siege of Tobruk or some other map in which there's a lot of artillery and good places to spot with just target assist points, because yeah, it just makes you super rich in points. You can see that the spot expired now. My smoke spot just went away because it sticks for a while, and if you respot, then the artillery gunner will see it again. The artillery gunner can see who is spotting for him, so he might ask for a new spot specifically. So keep an eye on the chat. The artillery gunner could give you advice on your spots. Maybe he wants it a bit higher or a bit more to the left or to the right, and then you can adjust accordingly. So that's just being nice, and it's also being better for yourself because you'll get more target assists that way. Okay. Okay, I just spotted without the binoculars deployed, which is also a possibility. You saw this cool hand gesture I made, but you also saw did not copy recent target coordinates. This means that your projectile didn't hit anything, and therefore it can't produce a spot for the artillery gunner. This happens if you are actually spotting the sky. So sometimes your projectile isn't really hitting anything, and sometimes smoke might influence your spot, and then it might also not copy. You get the warning about the spot not being sent, so you can just respot to adjust that. Okay, so that's about the binoculars. And one more thing, you can also, if you're losing a flag, you can also just spot the ground quickly before, for example, if you're the defenders here, I'm a German now, imagine I'm German, and we're losing the manor, I'll just quickly spot the ground and then I'll move off, and my friendly artillery can now blast the area in which the enemy just captured the flag. Okay, last item is the bandage. Every kit has them. Most kits have one, like the scout, and it heals you when you have damage. And it's sometimes useful, but not super often, because in FH2 everything is so super deadly that most of the time you will die immediately. But if you get wounded for some reason, then you can heal yourself, and getting wounded looks like this. So now I have the wounded shader. I see some pink and reddish screen, and I get these red signal things, and my character says so I can just drop this and walk over it, and now I am getting healed. It only heals a certain number of hit points, so you usually don't get to heal yourself up to 100% with one bandage, but you can also go to an ammo crate, resupply, and use a second one until you're at 100% again. Okay, So that's it for the Scout Kit. I hope you enjoyed this video, and in the next video we'll talk about the Rifleman Kit. And in the meantime, I hope you enjoy playing Volcano 2. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.